Hello and welcome back for Game 4, where Immortals make their return to the LCS up against FlyQuest.
Let's take a look at their starting rosters. Selecting blue side, it's Immortals. In the top lane, we have Soaz. In the jungle, Xmithy, Aika in the mid lane, Alltech in the bot lane, supported by Hakuho with coach Zabutin and Gotawan.
You nailed that, Mark Z.
I've been there. You my whole life.
Absolutely crushed that starting
I was in the bathroom reading.
Facing them on the red side, it's FlyQuest. In the top lane, we have Viper. Santorin is in the jungle. Power of Evil slots in the mid lane for this team with Wild Turtle and Ignar. Down there in the bottom lane, coaches, of course, Curry and D-Lib. Now, it's important to note that this is Immortals' first split back with the LCS since 2017, and their revival will start with a familiar face in the jungle. That's Xmithy. After 4 splits away, Xmithy returns to a refreshed Immortals team. In that time, the jungler reigned supreme with Team Liquid. Immortals last saw success with Xmithy in the jungle, but when an entirely new roster, will they be able to find that same cohesion necessary to take down the veterans' former team? Xmithy's last 5 splits have ended at the LCS finals, winning 4 of those with Team Liquid. Xmithy's influence. What does a successful Immortals look like with him on it?
That's kind of the big question mark for everyone. They have a lot of really strong players with people like Soaz, Xmithy, Hakuho. That really comes down to looking at their primary carry players in the AD carry and mid lane positions with Aika and Alltech, and if they can be people that the rest of the team can properly support to carry.
Yeah, so it's as weird as it is, I think it's less on like Xmithy to perform his veteran status and more on these carries to kind of perform the role. Because I'm going to take a big bet. Smithy's going to be very stable this split, and he's going to be able to perform his like, not really carry role, but like he can carry team fights, and mostly it's going to be like supportive, playing through the lanes, being at the right place at the right time. And it's going to be on the damage dealers to actually like win those fights. And I think he'll set him up well.
That has been the story of Xmithy his entire LCS career. Consistency and stability for his teams, but that largely requires somebody else to put the final nail in the coffin for the opposing teams. Now, after a 9th place finish, though, in Summer Split, FlyQuest made some off-season moves. We caught up with Power of Evil to talk about being reunited with support Ignar.
I haven't seen him since 2 years. I think the last time was actually in China when we were playing at the Worlds. Afterwards, obviously, we went different ways. He went to Barbecue All of Us in Korea, and I went to Optic in America. So I think we both followed each other still, like the scenes, you know. Like I watched him play in Barbecue All of Us. I watched him play in Schalke last year, and I think he followed me as well. And I think we are both really hyped to play with each other, and I think we had good experiences from Misfits and just good experience from playing together, and I think we respect each other a lot. So I think we are happy to be reunited.
Thoughts on this move here for Power of Evil? You've had relative success on CLG, but never really broke out into anything necessarily last year. And then, of course, he is joining the import of Ignar alongside him in the support position.
He feels like a really big team, well, not team player, but in the sense the team has to adjust to his play style. You know, he does want to play that more farm-oriented style in the early game that then leads to interesting, unique champions that he's often counter-picking with and usually being late-game champions. That scares me a little bit with what was the problem with FlyQuest that we saw in summer last year, which was that they were a little inactive in the early game. Santorin was not performing like he was in spring, and so you bring in a guy in the mid lane who's probably a little less active than Pobelter was, and I hope that they can find an identity that works with them.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I'm kind of on a separate ticket as you. I don't mean to be disagreeable.
No, absolutely be disagreeable.
But gonna be honest.
That's what I want.
So I think a little issue with FlyQuest last year was kind of their lack of identity. Wild Turtle was kind of your crazy player. Viper had Riven Top, which was really good. But it wasn't you can't do that every game, And PoE is a guy who can eat resources. I know he's not going to roam everywhere and disrupt the map or something, but yeah, if you give him stuff, he can hard carry. So I think he can fit really well into this team who doesn't have, bot and top don't really require that many resources. So I think PoE can kind of fill that a bit. And then I think they'll just turn into a team fighting team. I don't think it's going to be early game stomps. I think it's going to be slow grind out to big team fights.
You may have also noticed that our desk is adorned with FlyQuest flowers. This is a part of their tree quest. So if you're a fan of the environment, you're a fan of FlyQuest because for every kill 1 tree will be planted. For every Ocean Drake, it'll be 10 trees. And for every FlyQuest victory, it will be 100. So they're going green this season, all season long. We'll see how they do. With that, I think we're going to throw it out to the casters to get into our 4th and final of the LCS games here today before our Academy Showcase.
Thank you very much, Dash. Well, we just saw 100 Thieves win, so why not 100 Trees win here to start out the day for FlyQuest?
Is that the new hashtag?
100 Trees, hashtag. I don't know if that's the branding they really want, but it's going to be a bright one if it happens.
I think it is now.
I think it's going to be hype. Of course, I am Freak. That is Azael. The people on your screen right there all play for Immortals back on the roster. This is the FlyQuest side. I'm excited. I think it's going to be a really close match.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun, and I think it's cool to see some of the new players coming out, their debuts in the LCS. Obviously, IGNAR on one side. When you're looking over at Immortals, you have SOAS as well as IKA, who are first-timers in this league. And it's interesting to me to see SOAS here because he is so tied to EU LCS history and LEC history for me that seeing him in NA is very interesting, and I'm excited to see what he can show us because this is a roster that I think a lot of people had question marks about. Who is going to be the primary carry for Immortals? We know that there's a lot of strong role players, but who's going to step up and really be that person to take over in the game and get them those wins? And I want to see if that can be Ica or if that can be SOAS or if those responsibilities will be kind of solely on Altec.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch because, as you mentioned, it's a lot of unknowns. It's Altec back in League after a while. It's SOAS coming over to North America and being honestly one of the stars of the team, and I'm kind of curious to see if he can fill that role here as well. You go through the picks and bans, there's not a lot of surprises here with the likes of Rumble and Akali banned away. They're pretty much always gone every single game. Elise has been the most highly prized jungler worldwide so far this patch, and not a shock to see that one dropped out either.
Yeah, Ornn getting banned on red side, to me, says you're looking for a top lane counter pick. You're trying to ban away some of the safe picks up there. Ornn really does have such a solid laning phase, quite a strong laner, and scales incredibly well into the later stages of the game. Those item upgrades very powerful. Viper, we know at his best was kind of this dominant carry player in the LCS. Everyone points to his Riven games, but he had some very successful carry performances, especially in Spring on other champions too. And going to be looking to see if he can replicate that here.
Could be happening. Lucian left up on the table, however, right now by Immortals, but keep in mind, Aphelios, Misfortune, Senna, there is a lot of very strong bot lane marksmen available. All up.
Also got to remember, Lucian can be flexed around.
Yes.
It has been getting played in other regions, in top and mid, has been very, very popular in solo queues. So there is the possibility that if they don't like that bot lane matchup, they just give it to SOAS, they give it to Ica, they look for something else.
Interesting to see. Turtle values the Senna. We know Senna's basically always played as the AD carry. It's like 90-10 down there. Yes, we could see it flex support, but it's not really going to happen there. So taking over Aphelios, if the Lucian doesn't get flexed, it's not going to be picked up at all in this game as Lee Sin comes through for Santorin.
Something to note here too, talking a little bit more about that side lane play, if they're looking for kind of a counter up in that top lane, Senna works really, really well for supporting those types of 1v1s, for those types of counter picks in the top lane. Anytime you're going to be playing something aggressive, having that Senna can completely turn the tides at any 1v1, allow you to go more aggressive for tower dives and try to expand upon leads.
All right, well, Immortals grabbing likely the mid laner pretty early on here as well. Of course, yes, you can see Cassiopeia top, but it's much more off in the mid laner here as well. So Immortals showing a lot of the roster, showing the carries very early on. I mean, that was the question the analyst just posed was, how does Xmithie fit into a roster with more question marks than statements? And he says, I think Mark was saying Xmithie's going to be solid all around, and it's up to Ica and Altec to carry, and they've likely grabbed their champions already.
Wouldn't be surprised to see Orianna here. A lot of people do like that matchup. Into Cassio is considered a fairly good one in the laning phase for Orianna, and Power of Evil is so comfortable on that champion. Victor, another good matchup, and another one that is really in the wheelhouse of Power of Evil. Being able to kind of outrange and poke down the Cassio, utilizing the E, is pretty powerful there.
All right, so mid lane team fighting secured here as well. And let's see now it comes out the rest of the roster is junglers desynced here, and otherwise supports desynced on the other side. We're going to see some more mid lane bans. They're expecting the Cassiopeia top might be coming through for SOAS here. You can even see Cassiopeia bot lane. We've seen that one as well. Delusion goes top, so saying, we're still afraid of Ica bringing out some different mid lanes, so LeBlanc's off the table.
Yeah, I think most likely it is going to be Cassiopeia mid, Lucian bot, as you're saying, but you do always have to kind of give the respect that these flex picks can come in. Camille going to be getting banned away, something that does make it very, very dangerous. If Cassio were to go up in that top lane, Lee Sin plus the Camille post level 6 is pretty much doom for Cassio, who doesn't have really any sort of move block to kind of get away and escape most of those ganks.
All right, final man for FlyQuest. What else are they going to respect here from the Immortals side? 3 seconds to go, so they have to lock that one in. And Gragas off the jungle table here. So, pretty standard jungle bans. Kiana, Elise, Gragas with the Lee Sin taken away.
Yeah, so a couple of AP junglers have been banned out. We have the Elise, we have the Gragas, those taken off the table. Rek'Sai still available. That's my guess of where Immortals might go. It is fairly strong early ganker. Xmithie is very comfortable on it, and it's a good matchup into the Lee Sin. So that's kind of where I'm assuming Immortals will look to.
All right, final look there, of course, with the Tahm Kench banned away. We'll see FlyQuest -1 potential support pick, but they're going to grab... Ooh, Blitzcrank is in for Ignar. Signature pick here for him. Welcome to the LCS. It's going to be a very exciting bottom lane.
Yeah, very, very exciting stuff here. The Blitzcrank, pretty spicy. A lot of players do enjoy this pick into these other hook champions. You know, when Thresh winds up for a hook, you can actually hook him straight in during that kind of wind up and animation. And it is going to be the Trundle jungle coming through here for Xmithie. This is something that hasn't been played in a long time. And Trundle actually, on the current live patch, just got buffs. But this is before those buffs had been in. And Trundle has not been considered a very strong champion for quite some time. The pillar does give you a lot of utility, and you can be fairly low economy, build those support items. You know, back in the day, we actually saw a lot of Knight's Vow Rush and things like that on Trundle, so maybe that's the idea here for Xmithie. Support your lanes, build up some support items, and just have a lot of utility when it comes to those team fights.
Well, we know the champions are going in less Aatrox and Cassiopeia switch roles, which I doubt is going to happen here. And we now get to see what the final pick's going to be. FlyQuest knows they're against Aatrox in the top lane. Team Liquid went for Mordekaiser, but Riven gets brought out. 100% pick rate for Viper on Riven. Happy birthday, he's 22. And Viper gonna bring out his signature pick here as well.
Let's see if his love can bring him a win on his birthday.
We'll hope so.
The Riven was by far his most successful pick in the LCS. When you look back to summer, people were kind of critical, saying he had struggled a bit. But Riven did bring FlyQuest a number of wins. It is left open. He's going to go for that aggressive matchup. He has strong early game support here from the Lee Sin, and he does have the Senna ultimate cross map if he wants to go for any sort of dives or any aggressive 1v1 plays. So that's going to be pretty big, and likewise on that bottom side, strong gank assistance here with the Blitzcrank from Ignar, but I do feel like FlyQuest kind of has to stay high tempo, has to stay in the lead, because when you start to lose control of the map, when you lose vision control, Blitzcrank becomes very ineffective. You know, you're only going to be able to hook in the ones that your opponents want you to hook.
All right, we'll see if the hook's going to land right here. Opening day of the LCS. 3 new players in the league in the game right here. And we'll see who can come out with a win in their debut here on Saturday. Of course, more games to play today, more games to play tomorrow, and on Monday here as well. Wild Turtle, longtime LCS veteran, going to be one of the very big carry threats here in this roster. But you got a Riven on your team, and you got PoE, who loves resources on that Victor. I do like the FlyQuest roster look.
It is worth noting, this is going to be a Lucian mid. So this is actually Altec playing Cassio bot here. And this is Ignite, press the attack, Lucian mid. So they did want to avoid that Cassio into Victor matchup, which can be quite difficult. And Ica here going to be looking to go very, very aggressive. You can see Power of Evil does take the phase rush. It is actually really helpful against Trundle ganks because Trundle slows you down with that pillar, and if you can proc the phase rush, you're going to have a much better chance of just kind of kiting out that gank and getting away, as Trundle has no hard CC.
All right, well, we've got Obli standing by with FlyQuest CEO Trisha. Take it away.
Thanks, guys. I am here with Trisha, the new CEO of FlyQuest, to ask and find out a little bit more about Tree Quest. You guys are starting the Go Green initiative, where I believe for every victory, you're going to plant 100 trees. That could be 1,800 trees in a split. Are you ready for that?
Hell yeah.
So tell me a little bit about what sparked this initiative and why it's important for FlyQuest.
So at FlyQuest, we want to showcase greatness, and we believe everyone has greatness within them, and we want to help facilitate ways to do that. So our Go Green initiative is to invite everybody to help save our planet.
And one of the coolest things that I think is coming out from FlyQuest is the flower and the floral spring jerseys. What was the inspiration from that, and does the flowers have any significance?
Absolutely. So we're doing a few things. The ikebana is Japanese flower arrangements. That's how you say it. And our jersey represents nature, and nature is beautiful, it is graceful, but it also has strength. And that's going to be our inspiration for FlyQuest this year. And we want everyone to remember to appreciate nature and have gratitude every time you see the flowers.
Well, Trisha, thank you so much, and best of luck to you and the team, because I want to see some trees planted. Back to you guys.
Thank you very much, Avali. And we are into the game. I personally am quite grateful for the LCS itself. And thank you very much for the interview, of course, Trisha, as well. As we get ourselves into the matchups. Broken Sword versus fully fledged one up the top lane here. The Viper pushing in the lane at the very beginning.
Yeah, you can see Viper actually going for a longsword 3-pot start here. So may want to play it a little bit aggressive. Has a lot of sustain here in the early levels with that 3 health potions. And interested to see if he's going to go very aggressive with that.
Might be the case. I know when we did watch Viper's Riven earlier on last year, it tended to be around the 15-minute mark. He would really come online and start taking over games, big flanks, you get like double kills with ult combos and stuff. So I'm personally, I don't know the matchup to be fair. I'm not expecting like a 20 CS lead in the first 10 minutes. I'm expecting though that his mid game is going to be really explosive.
Yeah, I think there's very few matchups at the pro level that you get an early 20 CS lead unless there is an enormous jungle difference.
Yeah.
You know, if you're getting ganked and put behind, then that can be the case, or if there's some sort of horrible freeze that does happen. But besides that, not expecting any sort of enormous lead like that. FlyQuest playing pretty defensive on this bottom side here early on. We can see that Santorin is clearing down on this bottom side, and looks like he wants to work his way up towards top, but Smithy is around mid lane too.
So as cancels, Vipers are Q3 by actually getting his knockup in time. But it's still a CS deficit down there. There is PoE putting out an Ica. Good early damage, and this mid lane is going to be pretty close.
Yeah, really nice trades there from Power of Evil, and he actually has the extra potions remaining, an extra charge on the Corruption Potion, now actually 2 extra charges, as well as that Biscuit, so he is heavily in the advantage there, and they're actually roaming down towards this bottom side. They're looking for a potential 4-man dive here.
Here comes the Plague Smith, step in the front. Pillar comes in, nowhere for Turtle to go. Flame backwards, has nowhere to move, goes back to turret range, staying in there. The flash Q gets first blood as Ica comes down. It's going to be traded back to those Viper TPs now as well, and Hako's got to run. The Viper wants in, not going to get the knockup over the wall. He goes, gets only a single target, and Altec going to get away from that one. A 1-for-1, but first blood goes to Immortals.
Yeah, that is a huge win for Immortals, because Soaz also did not TP. Soaz actually held his TP. He's going to be pushing out top lane. They get more gold out of it here. Also, and Power of Evil now caught. He might just be dead.
The Flay, he can't go anywhere. Kill's going to be picked up. That's a flash burn for absolutely nothing. And Altec is on the board.
Yeah, that is huge. Altec and Ica, the 2 main carries, grabbing kills here early on for Immortals. And here's the dive one more time. Very well timed out. Immortals bot lane is level 3. We can see that Smithy coming down here at level 3. Ica level 4, flashing in, picking up that first blood. A great hook from Ignar to actually trade back. Then Viper committing forward here. Does try to go in for the kill, but Hako still had the flash available. And they're able to catch Power of Evil, you know, just kind of walking back on a dangerous route. He walked over that ward, was spotted. Hako gets in position, nails the hook, and once the miasma comes down, there was no way out for him. Yeah. And that pillar looks so weird.
Pushing back a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Are you just saying the skin?
Just the skin. I've never seen that. It looks like an emote to me. My mind is...
I gotta say I haven't seen that one either, but you know what? Credit to him. I want to give some flack for PoE though. Had flash, burned it after the fight, could have flashed the get away. I think that's a mistake, but I also got to give credit to Hakuho, who saw him run on the board, say, hey, stop the recall, we're going up here. I think I'll catch him on the mid lane. Yeah. You're right about that one. So heads up play by Hakuho. Good hook, good start. 0-0-2 for him. Back to the top lane we go with a 1,000 gold lead for Immortals.
Yeah, thankfully for Viper, you know, his TP was not for nothing. He did get a kill, so Soaz does have teleport advantage, which could mean Immortals looks to make a dragon play. You know, on that bot side of the map, I think that could be pretty intelligent. They have had priority in the bottom lane pretty heavily, and now you have a big CS advantage here for Altec, and he got the kill, which allows him early tier buy, so he should have tons of mana to be able to actually push up and continue this pressure, which can open up an early Mountain Dragon.
Hook's gonna go in. Ooh, try to predict Turtle juicing backwards. Goes in a straight line though, gets away from it. No pick off there. Still gold lead for Immortals. It looks like pressure basically everywhere. You're seeing CS leads in literally every single lane except for jungle. But Smithy looking at mid lane now. This wave is pushed in. They have plenty of time to dance in and walk up in a melee range. PoE gonna lose a lot of farm there. Pillar backwards. Good culling damage, but the turret is firing on both those players. They gotta walk away. Still, it does mean some farm is lost as the melee minions are picked up for no gold.
Yeah, Santorin here to cover. Smithy will be pushed out, so you know it's kind of his lead, a little bit sacrificed there to try to get Ica ahead. Power of Evil misses a bit of CS, but Xmithie gets slow, so he's going to kind of have to back off and cede some of this farm over to Santorin, who is going to be closing in on level 6 and may look to make an appearance with his flash available when Lee Sin does get that ultimate. He could try to make something happen up around the top lane.
Shout out to Demacia Vice, Lucian skin. Enjoy the neon scheme onto that one. Bot lane's getting pushed in, no problem. And it's cool to see Altec back. And this is one of my favorite changes, honestly, for the last 2 years or so of League, is the non-marksman bot lane. As a bot laner, mostly myself, I really do like seeing all the extra champions out there. And I'm glad that Altec's sort of re-debut to the LCS is, yeah, I'll play Cassiopeia. Like, we've seen Perks do it, seen Caps do it. They think we can go bot lane. I'll play Mage as well as them. And I think it's really nice to see that sort of breadth of champion pool.
Yeah, the Mage's bot as kind of like a fad has passed a little bit, but you still see lots of Yasuo and Cassio in solo queue. That is played fairly frequently. You also still see some Heimers down there, and Santorin now 6, as I said, gonna look top.
Viper cannot get away from the third knockup, though. Big damage. Q's gonna get to a minion. Not gonna find the re-engage. Viper gets away from the pullback, though, and so as just forcing ults out, forcing a gank that does nothing, and now Xmithie is here as well. Pillar's gonna come in, gonna buy some space. Santorin ward hops just to get away.
Yeah, and this is just good cover from Xmithie. He's making sure that Soaz can reset the wave to get a safe base here. Not going to be losing anything from that. And Viper, because he was low and he has no teleport, he's actually going to lose that wave up on the top side. And I am a little bit surprised to see Santorin just running straight towards bot, but perhaps worried about the jungle. Rather getting down towards that bottom side of the jungle to cover any potential dragon take, because he actually could have soaked that whole wave.
Yeah, doesn't do so, though, and instead it's going to be Soaz hard pushing the next wave entirely, then taking the recall. Should be pretty much undisturbed on this as Viper comes back in. Clears out the minions, and Soaz will now take the recall with, I believe, a cannon wave reinforcer next time around. Doesn't even have to bring the TP if he doesn't want to. Shouldn't lose much farm at all. Santorin now bottom river.
Yes, we see Soaz was just trying to kind of get to phage gold. He is just short of that, but he can wait for the passive gold to tick him up, and then he's going to have a very nice buy for himself here. Viper rushing that early Executioners. I don't think Santorin was actually spotted on this ward, but he will be seen by Xmithie now.
Still a fight that picks him into the pit. Xmithie does have flash, and he's got to burn it right away, but the ward hop over!
The Ignite!
The Ignite means Ignar grabs the kill. What a play out of Santorin.
Yeah, great job there. Xmithie is level 6, but not really many stats to steal here from Santorin, who has no bonus health built up whatsoever, and Xmithie had not bought that Bomby yet, so he's very squishy, gets burst down, and it's going to cost him the kill and the dragon.
Yeah, Mountain Drake going to be picked up, sub 10 minutes, reasonably early clip here. Bonus armor MR for the squad. Not going to mean a ton, honestly.
No.
Very few players here are going to buy armor magic resist. Oh, okay. It's moving towards the Elemental Drake. It pushes the agenda, but it's not stat-wise very great.
You are denying it from your opponents at the very least. And here's this play one more time. Challenging Smite's down early. Xmithie getting burst out. Ignar just flashes in, gets the Ignite. That plus that Challenging Smite burn, enough to take him down. Xmithie, though, making a play on the top side of the map. They've rotated their bot lane up towards the top side to try to grab an early Herald here. This is kind of clutch-esque from last split. And I think we are going to see a lot of this type of play because there's kind of this dichotomy. People talk a lot about the Dragon's Soul, but you have to get 4 dragons, right? And that does take quite a bit of time. And what a lot of teams are actually finding is that you can go topside, play for early Heralds, try to get an advantage in gold, and then start contesting once you're to that 3rd dragon. Yeah, and you don't actually need to really fight over those early 2 dragons because the individual dragons are worth much less than they were last year, right? We were actually just talking about this earlier. Infernal, for example, went from 10% bonus ADAP to 4, right? So it's much less of a big deal to give up those early ones as long as you're in a position to then contest and prevent the soul.
Yeah, and even then we've even seen that you can take the soul, but Elder Dragon is full value regardless of your Drake state. That could be the game winner in and of itself. You can kind of ignore some of that stuff. So definitely agree. I do think we'll see more topside play over time. I really do like how the season changes have shaped up in that regard, and we'll see that continue on. Game state right now, as we're 11 minutes in, Immortals up only this 400 gold, tempered by the FlyQuest Mountain Drake, which does multiply your base stats. So the 35 base MR, that's still, that's going to add up. The 60 or so armor you get by mid to late game, that'll still add up a little bit as well. So does mean something, is worth some gold. We'll see how that plays out over time.
I mean, Blitz probably going to be able to get some takey stats as he's going forward, but yeah, it's not a really big deal here.
You're not playing Orin Sejuani, where they would have really cared.
Yeah, or Malphite with all the bonus.
Malphite would have cared a lot.
Really,
that would have been a big deal.
Really insane on Malphite. And Rammus, I've seen that
Yeah,
too.
sure.
But over here into the mid lane. Power of Evil farming it out quite well. We can see he is down a fair bit of farm to Ica, who has made good use, I think, of the pressure with this Lucian pick and with the Ignite that he has taken. And we just have to see, can they actually snowball that into kind of more of a mid-game lead, because he has committed quite a bit to the early game, as has Power of Evil, double Doran's Blade, plus the Vamp Scepter, and you look at the other side, you have that double Dark Seal.
Well, off they go up towards this northern side of the map. Still no Drake to kill for 2 more minutes, but Immortals want to move their bot lane around and maybe find another mid lane dive. PoE's been the object of attention quite a bit here so far this game. As the ward goes down, they know Hako's moved up. That would have been called by Wild Turtle basically every time. And he's safe enough, no wave to dive with, nothing happening.
And they know they need to be pressuring Power of Evil, because if you allow Victor to just sit and farm and actually get to his upgrades, get to some mana items pretty early on, he becomes fairly unassailable. And then the Lucian all of a sudden isn't looking like such a hot pick, right? The Lucian wants to be snowballing, wants to be extending his advantage consistently throughout the game, where the Victor's just happy to chill and farm waves pretty much all game.
Yep. Herald is summoned and the team's ready to push forward as a couple plates have been taken down. Santorin cannot get the kickback though. Couldn't quite find the play. Ica kited it out. Burns Ignite, forcing Santorin away, but now that's plates down to the bottom side. It looks like first turret will go down in this lane. The Herald's not going to be killed really in time. Turret gold goes over. Immortals winning through the bottom lane.
Yeah, nice Herald play there. They get it down before the plates fell too, so that's going to be really good for them. Some bonus gold in their pockets. And that topside play making a little bit of a difference thus far.
Game state now 1,200 gold lead for Immortals as they managed to cash in. This is also interesting, right? We talked about winning through top side, or at least going to the top side of that to grab Herald. But Herald himself, of course, summoned in the bottom lane, so it's still this bottom duo where a lot of the objectives are being taken.
Yeah, it's more just about, is it worth spending the time to take Herald and playing up towards that top side of the map? And some people don't think it is, because it actually takes quite a bit of time to kill off the Herald, but as long as you are going to be in a position to contest later dragons, a lot of teams are feeling that it is going to be okay. And, you know, FlyQuest was a team that I got to kind of talk to, and they seemed to think that there was going to be divergence in how it was played. You know, I got to talk to Turtle a little bit on, you know, kind of the photo shoot day where all the pros came in, and he was saying he thinks that it's not just going to be one way that you play the game, that teams have developed different strategies, and we are seeing some variance.
And variance now on the top side as Viper gets some pretty good damage down into Soaz, has to get pulled back. He's going to be fine, though. The shield was up anyway. Santorin stole away a blue buff. Altec, though, going to be generally fine. Has the full Archangel staff done, so mana pool not going to be a huge constraint. Ocean, sorry, not Ocean, but this is going to be Cloud Draken. But first off, with the kill, it's Smithy. Dead instantly already. The restun comes in. Santorin has traded neither jungler now alive. And a 4v4 on the map as Teleport comes in on one side. Viper's saving his, though, and so as burns that cooldown.
Yeah, Viper just going to be able to run over here. With both junglers down, they're not too worried about Immortals just straight up rushing that dragon in their face. You can see Ike is heading down towards that bottom side, and he will be able to hold on to the teleport, which could get them an edge later on, especially if you can actually get a bit of a reset on the map. But Ignar's looking to fight.
Looking at it, here comes Ignar running forward. Where's he going to go? Looks for Altec, can't predict the juke, though. So as Juan Sin going to be rooted, has to kite back down to this one, and no hook available means they're not going to find an opening.
And Ignar actually has no mana whatsoever, so he's got to reset. He would be worthless from a team fight right now. Doesn't even have enough mana for a single hook at this point, but it is Immortals off of that, just going to start it up, and it will be their dragon because Ignar did not reset. They decided to try to stay around in that 44 and look for some type of a fight. They couldn't get it, and it will be Immortals grabbing the dragon.
Got to be a little bit careful here. Pillar comes down, they're cutting back and forth, and Ignar not going to find that opening. Lantern away, they're going to run in, and yet another Infernal Drake. We've only had one Ocean Drake spawn all day. I feel bad for FlyQuest, but it's a season-long initiative. It's okay.
And they planted 3 trees through kills.
They have so far.
Yeah.
And there's 100 still to be grabbed if they win this game. Of course, it's still very good. 500 gold difference, certainly doable here.
So here it is one more time. Ignar does catch Smithy, clearing a ward, lands the hook. They do get this nice initial kill. I'm not even sure if Santorin actually needed to go in to finish that off. It's a tough call to make, but it was just a really great hook from Hakuo, setting up the ultimate from Altec. That CC chain not allowing Santorin to get back out, and with him going down, his team not resetting after that kill, it did mean Immortals took the eventual dragon and are going to be up here for the second Rift Herald. Ignar is moving up, and so is the rest of FlyQuest. We'll see if they have confidence to actually move in and try to fight this.
Ooh, that's going to be some decent damage here. Good play back in as well. Now can they knock down the rest? Ignar has Aftershock, gets Summoner Heal, which keeps him alive through the Cassiopeia Poison. but we still got the Herald at half health. FlyQuest still pushing forward. Hakuo, what a predicted hook, goes in for the play, shut down by Senna, and the engage from Viper. What a slaughter! Almost every kill picked up already. Soaz, the only left alive, trying to run away, does so, but a 4 for 0. FlyQuest plant 4 more trees.
Viper just shreds him. Oh man, you got me with that call. They absolutely, I was not expecting that. Absolutely decimated over by the Rift Herald. They're gonna get the 4 kills for 0. They're gonna grab the Rift here too, and they are knocking down the mid lane turret. Potentially can grab a second with that Rift Herald, but this was just a huge fight for them. Turtle had such a well-timed Senna ultimate to actually protect Santorin to help finish off those initial kills, and then Viper flying in from the side. And that is why this guy is so damn dangerous on his signature pick. He finds the engages. He's so well-timed at when he's actually going to dive into the back line, and they just got shredded.
It's what we said. We get into mid-game, Viper's going to find that opening and absolutely slaughter people. Did so, beautifully done, turns them into fertilizer, and FlyQuest now in the driving seat.
Going hard on this.
I am. It's, you know, I found a new place to put in some funds, and that's where we're going right now.
That was the mistake. This one's on me, but here it is one more time. Great early ultimate from Turtle. As soon as the hook was coming in from Hakuo and he realized his jungler was going to get grabbed, he was already channeling that ultimate. Viper was already coming in from the side, and Soaz knows that is a fight that is not going to go well for them, as when everyone's converging from multiple sides, it's going to be really tough to turn that around, and you're adding hundreds of shield from Turtle onto that Riven who's diving in the back line too.
Yeah. Gotta be on Trundle watch a little bit here. Smithy, I don't know if it's really his fault. He's been caught up by some really good hooks and really good plays, but the Trundle so far not working out very well. Haven't found the ganks, and he's also not been able to frontline. No. So it's rough stuff right now.
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised by the pick. It is very much a supportive pick, but usually you don't see Trundle much unless there's a tank on the other side that you can kind of grab those stats from. We are seeing some of the kind of weak sides of it, but that being said, he's working towards what is likely a Knight's Vow, and he is going to go for that type of build. So Ica here, we'll see if he can escape.
Kicked into the wall, lands both hands the Q, flashes in for some more auto attack, forces a flash out, one more auto, kills him, Santorin takes him out, and walks right back up the turret damage.
That was really well played by Santorin. So he hits the Q, then flashes into melee range to be able to get more damage down before using the Q2, which is the execute. So he had to actually do that to have lethal damage there, and does coordinate well with Power of Evil. They take another turret, they get another kill, and they still have that Rift Herald, which they could look to use for either a tier 2 or to drop that last outer turret in the bot lane, because FlyQuest is extending their gold lead here and starting to really look like they are in control.
Now, beautiful stuff right now. FlyQuest stepping up right here, and we're going to see the next Drake spawning in just 40 seconds. FlyQuest are going to be, at least 11 minutes away from Dragon Soul if they continue to control the bottom river. But they certainly are playing on this side of the map, right? You're seeing the wards come over the wall. They know that control ward's over there. They got to clear it at some point, but can't just yet. Bot lane control is theirs. Mid lane being pushed out by Wild Turtle Senna. Not going to greed for this turret. It's not the important part. It's the 20 seconds till Infernal Drake that matters, and so you're going to see PUE head back up towards the river and be ready to go for it.
I think at this point, we're actually going to see Santorin hold the Rift. Oh, never mind. As he drops it right down bot lane, makes Lyra move. I was thinking he might have wanted to hold on to it for pressure during the Dragon, which actually is right around this time. So if you actually have to answer that Rift Herald, you can start the Dragon, but they get a hook on Xmithy. Nice Lantern out from Hakuo, though. Does actually save his jungler once again, and they are going to try to start this up. Soaz can look for a flank if they want it.
And look at that, Immortals not even going to try to stop the Drake. They're giving this one over, going for mid lane control instead, and Viper can't really wave clear, but they're not willing to go for the dive with Soaz the other side of the map, so all they get is 6 minions killed, and the Infernal Drake goes right on over to FlyQuest.
Yeah, I think this is the right call. Immortals, though, they know that they are behind at this point. They have actually given up a lot of towers. They're pretty far down on gold, so you don't need to fight over that one Infernal. It is just the 4% AD AP. They have to grab 2 more dragons before FlyQuest could actually secure a soul. So Immortals is just going to try to sit back, wait for a better opportunity, look to scale up on the Cassio, look to complete some of these key items, across the map. Maybe grab that Knight's Vow and some things like this, and try to be prepared for the later fights.
It does push you towards the possible inevitability, though. FlyQuest, I think, can certainly. Again, I agree with your point that the individual Drakes are not worth as much, right? Seeding one Drake at a time, really not a big deal. I'd rather have a kill than a Drake in a lot of cases, in absolute value in and of itself. But in 10 minutes, if you don't contest FlyQuest and that Infernal Soul comes online, that's a lot of poke out of the Senna with a ton of raw AD and the Victor with a ton of raw AP because it scales up those stats.
And usually where I kind of draw the line is I think you have to start contesting at 3 dragons, which is that next dragon, because it's so risky to just say, oh, we'll just contest at number 4, because if you miss a smite or one person gets picked, then you can just lose the game off that. So generally, I like to see teams start contesting at 3 dragons, and they're just kind of waiting 5 additional minutes. They're saying, all right, we pick up a little bit more farm, we complete a few more items, and then we try to get ready to go for that. Double items have been completed now for Altec. You know, he has his Leandries. We can see the Redemption is ready. You know, these guys are trying to get as prepared as they possibly can be for that next potential fight.
This fight's most likely going to be around the top river with Baron being alive for the last 2 minutes or so. It is always interesting. I think it's actually a lot easier for blue team to get in towards Baron with that sort of space opened up. There's less wards to hide through. Here comes Soas trying to run away, though, as Santorin wants in. Of course, can't find him too easily. Just hits the minion whip, but now Ignar wants it. Q! Oh! Good job by Soas getting away.
That was really close, but Soas does expend the ultimate, gets out of there. Unfortunately, his team not in a position to really get anything from that on the other side of the map. So it will just be a nice Soas escape, but side lane pressure is going to be very, very heavily in the favor of FlyQuest because they have the jungle advantage. And also, when you look at the completed items here for Viper, there's no way that Soas can actually contest this with the full Death Dance Cleaver plus that Executioners. And you can see Viper feeling confident to actually get aggressive, take some turret shots with his E-Shield, and just heal that back up off the minion whip.
Working pretty well for him right now. We got another push to the mid lane, though, as Ica looks to feel a little bit safe here. But W, no follow-up autos, will not go for the shots here. Immortals very reticent to push forward. 2 minutes on Infernal now as Baron is still alive, and right now it's mostly blue wards in that top river. Immortals very slightly own that territory, but not have to sneak in and go for a Baron.
Yeah, mostly kind of defensive warding for them. They do have that one pink ward in the pit. Power of Evil going to be able to have time to actually fully shove this out. And Viper again here, he's popping the ultimate. He's looking to go aggressive.
Ult for ult. He's almost in ult range for R2, but it's going to force Flash out of Soas and the Redemption out of Hakuo. So Viper forcing cooldowns out of his opponents.
Yeah, anytime you get caught off the tower as Soas at this point, you are going to be getting beat up pretty badly. The items are very heavily in Viper's advantage, and Soas looking towards potentially Asterix here now is going to kind of set him back even further from his next item completion. But he knows he just needs to kind of try to survive and wave clear. That's going to be his job in this game for the next few minutes. But it does get very dangerous with no ult, no flash. You can be preyed upon.
Yeah, let's find out what's next. 80 seconds on Infernal Drake. FlyQuest continues to be the team with the lead. Soas does not have flash for this team fight. And the engage tools are pretty slim. It's a Hakuo hook. Otherwise, it's kind of heroics out of Altec. If they want to start a fight, force their will on their opponents. Viper gets away from Q2. Jukes away, no problem. He's going to continue to heal up across these things. Look at that, 50-some health per auto attack. And they're hatching a ward here. Santorin is visible as he's looking around for the play. So Hakuo, does he find the hook? Does he find the big play? That hook could be massive. Plays him right back in. Santorin might not have the way out, the stopwatch, but he should still burn down to ignite, and he does. What a crucial time to die. He'll be back up just in time for the Drake, but a nice pick by Hakuo.
I mean, even though he's going to be back up, that's stopwatch, that's flash, both gone for Santorin. So a lot of the playmaking ability of Lee Sin is off the map. Immortals are going to have confidence to push forward, to retake vision, and they're actually looking for Ignar here now.
He has to burn his own flash, can't land his own hook either, and this time the mid-turret finally will fall. So Immortals back on the map aggressively, get something done.
Patience really paying off for them there as Santorin, thought he was actually setting up a bit of a bait around that pink ward, but didn't know he was sitting on one of those vision wards, was actually spotted out and does get punished so heavily. Yes, he is going to be up as the dragon is spawning, but they can actually just rush this potentially, and Santorin will be a lot weaker for that fight.
Well, he can try to run down, but he still is stuck inside the base. The smite is no problem. Infernal's traded one apiece. Good job to Immortal. Now, Smithy, he's going to be rooted. He does not have flash. The ult's not going to do enough, and PoE grabs that kill for himself onto the top river.
They can actually just run to Baron. You push out mid. Now Smithy is down. There's no flash on Altec or Hakuo, who had to actually go out the back of the pit. The only member who even has it is Ica. That becomes so dangerous because now you're asking your carries to actually face check forward in this 4v5 when they don't have summoners available to actually keep themselves safe.
So here comes the attempt. They got a 4v5 stop this, knowing they do not have smite. Viper waiting in the wings. Not going to be hooked up, but he's still keeping two people busy. Now, the tank line isn't that strong. As Centaur's running out of health a little bit. And, of course, not a ton of damage out of the Senna either. Yeah, this is taking a long time. Smithy is back alive and he's running towards this side of the map. FlyQuest might have to turn tail and run. They're getting lower. Centauran down to only about 1,000 HP, but here comes the re-engage. They got a few more seconds until they got the last player. No stun in the flash follow-up, and Viper is on a rampage. No pickups at all for Immortals. FlyQuest get one.
They do defend the Baron, and that is huge, though, for Immortals. So FlyQuest get the kill, but it does cost them Viper's flash, the ult there. It costs them, a number of other ultimates, and Immortals are able to stave off that Baron just because they take it so slowly. They didn't have Riven in the pit actually dealing damage. They had him threatening the flank, so they didn't actually have the ability to just burn this down. Ignar gets slowed up by the box. That almost looked like a clutch ultec, so ridiculously close. Then Viper flashes in, lands the stun. Santorin able to follow up with his damage. The Senna ultimate getting layered across the top there too, and really kind of protecting that group of dive buddies who want to go backline onto Altec, who they knew had no flash.
Once again, look at the game state here. 27.5 minutes in. Equal Drakes on both sides, one Infernal apiece. Mountain to FlyQuest, Cloud to Immortals. Gold difference 4,000. FlyQuest, once again, those feel like the team that are winning. They're pushing towards this top river. They've got two control wards up there. Baron is on the map. Still 3 minutes to next Infernal Drake, so top side really all that matters here. And they do own top side.
Can see some big items coming through, though. We do have that Infinity Edge, second actually for Ico, which is a bit atypical. People more often going for things like the Essence Reaver, but this does allow him to kind of have a lot of pure damage output. Ignar looking for a bit of a flank here, trying to threaten and engage if they go too far onto this tier 2.
And no CDR on Lucian whatsoever, not even from Runes, so just simply going for the raw attack damage build. Which is, a different adaptation here if you're going to be able to sit and hit frontline for a while. Not sure that's going to be true, but...
And he will have the Zeeks from Xmithy, and probably still a Knight's Vow, I'm assuming, from that Kindled Gem. So, when you get those in, when you get a little attack speed coming through here too, can start to get very dangerous. But range is always the problem, I find, for Lucian when you do look at these types of team fights. Xmithy has been kind of getting shredded through, so you don't have a super effective front line, and getting access to some of these carries, like the Victor and like the Senna, who have further range than you, can be very, very difficult for Lucian. So he's going to be kind of on duty, just kiting back from the Lee Sin, kiting back from the Riven, trying to focus them down.
But if there's a good hook, if he does have the free fire, it will be high damage. If you're going pure DPS, that is the build. But as you're mentioning, range going to be difficult. How you can actually fight, very, very relevant here. 6 kill difference still, 29 minutes in. Next Infernal Drake, minute and a half. Looks like FlyQuest still playing it pretty slowly. They're the team I'm watching. They are the team with the control, so it's kind of their choices about who goes where. Nice by PoE, grabs the blue. No chance for Ica.
I've got to point out how low level Ignar is. He's level 9, and there are level 16s on the map. The next lowest level in the game is 11, so Ignar is incredibly squishy. You get a lot of base stats from each level up. We had talked about this before. It's 800 to 1,000 or so gold per level. It gets more and more as you get higher level in the game. And Ignar, very, very squishy champion here on the Blitz. Really over-leveled. I mean, 7 levels behind some of the members in this game.
Well, as long as he can land the hook, though, that's full power no matter what. Displacement is going to be relevant. So, hey, Senna's getting her XP. Let's let Wild Turtle level up. He's going the selfless pattern, And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, if he gets one shot by Lucian, then, well, you could have leached.
There's been a lot of almost hooks, it feels like, this game from Ignar.
If you're higher level, they would have hit.
Exactly. Your arms get longer.
Yeah, that's how that works. Well, here we go. Viper getting hit a little bit more by Soez, but not going to be chucked down just yet. Q lands on Altec. Will there be a re-engage? Damage with Xmithy, putting him at half HP. Victor burned as well. Xmithy also presses R. Ignar is low, cannot quite find that opening. Xmithy still getting low. Flash forward, almost kills him off. Settle's going to get a little bit more damage, but still no kills picked up just yet. Hook not going to land from Hakuo either. But FlyQuest doing more damage than they take, have map control as Infernal Drake spawn.
Yeah, that is really, really big. The Infernal is up. This is going to be theirs. I don't think Immortals is actually going to look to challenge this whatsoever now. Xmithy, no flash, no ultimate, is resetting. So FlyQuest 1 off of Soul now at this point. The Baron is active, but that 5 minutes that Immortals have, they've got to get a lot done with. They've really got to get to a point where they feel they can contest this next dragon. Try to get vision early, try to be in the right place at the right time, because Infernal Soul is incredibly powerful.
Really is, and it's only 5 minutes away from FlyQuest now as they push in. Take the reset off the extra gold they've earned and pose up for Baron. That seems like the very likely play now as at this top river once again becomes a hotbed of action as Hakuo walks forward. Tagged by PoE, but gets a ward down, which means that FlyQuest have to walk away. We'll put a control ward down.
Ignar on the side here, but a little bit of a scary position for him to be in as he doesn't have too much teammate support. He was spotted going into Viper, looking to get aggressive here on bot side.
Once again, a battle ulti burned here as well. Can Soaz tank this out? Of course, Death Dance in the flash forward. The ult is easily gonna be enough. And Viper solo kills Soaz. Welcome to the LCS.
Yeah, ult for ult, flash for flash, but one man comes out on top on his birthday. 100% HP left. Viper opening up the map. He's going to be working on this tier 2, and now it gets very dangerous for Immortals because you have this bot lane pressure coming from this Riven, and you got to be worried about the Baron too.
Hook, Ignite, ultis on PoE, grabs Xmithy, and Immortals are running out of members, but Ica trades one back. Now Altec in a battle with Turtle, a single E, doesn't even need it. The Ignite does enough. Immortals answer back for kills. 2 for 2 if you count the solo kill earlier from Viper. He's to push down to the bottom lane. This turret, though, will not fall. He's got to win away from Ica.
Yeah, FlyQuest really had no reason to go so aggressive there, though. I think all you have to do at that point, let Viper hit the turret. Force them to respond to the bottom side. When they send someone down there, you start up the Baron. You have 4 members up on the top side. They're the ones starting this fight, I guess, just feeling really confident about their position. Turtle, though, is split very heavily from the rest of the team. And this was just a really nice ult from Altec. You know, does catch him on that auto attack. That auto attack channel is very long here for Wild Turtle on the center. You have very low attack speed, so easier to kind of land that stun. And you can see Soaz frustrated with that solo kill that Viper was able to grab. But I mean, Viper is just so far ahead. When you're looking at the gold, he's well over 4,000 gold ahead of his opponent. And Soaz really kind of has nothing he can do besides trying to hide under the turret and try to wave clear, but Riven, when she gets to this point, has so much CDR, you can mostly ignore the turret.
Yeah. Well, the state we're in.
Your shields.
Yeah, did a good job with that one. State win right now is about a 6,000 gold lead for FlyQuest. 2/3 of that is on Viper, but another 2,000 that gold is split across the other 4 members compared to Immortals. So they're winning on both sides. They're winning split push and they're winning the 4-on-4. That one team fight notwithstanding, of course, that wasn't overstep. But now we're 2 minutes away from Infernal Soul for FlyQuest.
And it is a really big fight for Immortals. They're looking for another.
He gets pulled right back in. He's got to be careful. The rest of the squad's in front of him. Played in, and Power of Evil is shut down.
Viper
big
behind.
gold to Altec. Ignar silence for a second, runs back away. Ignar is going to pick up the kill. A trade of mid laners now, and the 4v4 isn't going to be good enough. Wants to go in, Blade forwards. Ult comes in for the shield, and he's going to find some damage in, but isn't enough though. He's going to get chopped down. There is the redemption pop. The Turtle down as well. Soaz is dropped though. That is +1 so far to FlyQuest, looking for yet another. Another stun comes across. Santor to the back line fighting Altec, but Altec has the damage. Pops to GA. Xmithy forced to run. He's going to drop now as well as Turtle picks up that kill. Nowhere for Hakuo to go, and FlyQuest claimed that kill with no deaths at all. There's 1 man left alive, and Altec cannot do it all.
It's the GAs that made all the difference in that fight. Both Santorin and Viper had them available, and they were able to fly into the backline, buying so much time for Turtle to clean up this fight, knocking through the Immortals team, who had a great pick on Power of Evil, but this is going to be all the kills. This is going to be the Baron, and they're going to have that Baron buff available for the 40 seconds that they need it when that Infernal Soul is going to be available. So here it is one more time. Power of Evil up on the side. They do get a really nice pillar to kind of just pin him in and are able to burst him down as Ignar goes just wide. But actually watch Ica here. You have full vision of Viper. He sees him, backs up, then just runs into him and actually gets stunned up and dies. Ica really no excuse to get caught out like that. Needed to play it more slowly, wait for the rest of his team to come, and then look to turn. But with that initial kill, Viper flies into the back line, 4-man stun, buying incredible amounts of time with the GA, then comes right back up. Santorin can do the same thing, diving deep onto Altec, again creating more space for Turtle to get this kill up on Xmithy on the top side, and they just bought so much time. This duo of Viper and Santorin have been incredible for FlyQuest this game.
10, 3, and 12 between them, doing a lot of work there at the Bash top side. And now we've got the Infernal Soul on the plate. Baron up on the members. One turret goes down, but the smite is true. And Infernal Soul picked up now. FlyQuest hugely powerful in this game.
I think FlyQuest just need to wait for GAs, wait for Flash on Viper. The Soul is going to last the rest of the game. Having Flash on your Riven is so incredibly important for the team fight. It gives you so much playmaking ability, and Viper has that in a couple seconds here. And that, I think, may be where they look for their window. The amount of poke coming out on every little bit of damage with that Infernal Soul proc becomes very, very relevant, and it becomes pretty much impossible for Soaz to hold 1v1 at this point against Viper, who's going to be so damn tanky and have the additional damage coming out from this Infernal Soul.
Looks pretty likely FlyQuest very favored on to close out this game. 16 kills so far, and they're going to push on towards this turret. A couple of shots through for Wild Solar is going rapid fire cannon build, very standard third item for Senna. Adds range, adds sieging, turret goes down in the mid lane. Look at the bot side, that's taken down by Viper here as well, and Ignar's showing up for the party. Ult burn gets away, but back into the mid lane is the rest of the squad. Turret's on a half HP there as well. Wave clear only so good for Immortals, 2 cannons still alive. And they are pushing, pushing, pushing down.
They are closing in on this game, no need to rush it. Viper working away on this bottom inhibitor with double Baron up cannons. They have gotten the mid lane, look at Turtle's range. And he is sitting on 85 stacks at this point and has 100 bonus attack range. And he is going to be very hard to get up onto.
Almost lens look right there, but mid inhibitor's going to drop just like the bottom inhibitor did. So 2 inhibs down, and a pickoff found in the mid side as Hakuo goes down. 5v4 for FlyQuest with a 9,000 gold lead. Infernal Soul, Baron buff, everything they could possibly need. Looking now for the Nexus turrets themselves at 38 minutes. Looking for that first kill, not quite going to find one on the fountain steps, but the turrets are falling and Immortals cannot find the fight. They will be slain today as in goes Viper, starting out the fight. Another kill picked up onto Altec. Look for the next little bit right there. Ica finds a little bit of heroics, but not nearly enough. Soaz nowhere to go. The rest of his teammates going to fall down. One final hook to guarantee Xmithie drops. Plant another tree, 21 in the kills, 100 for the win. FlyQuest start out the LCS with a win.
Closing it out with the Bud Light Ace there. FlyQuest looking strong. And what a performance from the birthday boy. Viper popping off on his signature pick. Locks in the Riven, 8-0 and 5 on the day. Really, really looking strong.
Really impressive stuff. I am always happy to see players on signature picks because it's always impressive. They do really sick stuff, and that was an example of it right there. Solo killing Soaz a couple of different times, having really big mid-game team fights there as well. This is a player who had the TP down to bottom lane, give away 2 to 3 waves. Yeah, okay, you got to kill for it. That pays for a lot of that money, right? So it made it a bit closer there, but still had to play around TP disadvantage, had to play around wave disadvantage, still came back strong in the mid game. Beautifully done by him. 22-year-old as of today, doing some hard carry work on his favorite champion.
Yeah, he looked great, and I think it's one of those reminders where it's like, oh, you're supposed to ban Riven against Viper. I forgot about that. All right.
Yep. And that's exciting because, you know, if that does prove true, it's a draft advantage long-term from FlyQuest there as well. Glad that they have started with a win right here, of course, for Immortals. Sad to say Xmithie did not have the greatest game, 0-7-5. Yes, you're the frontline without a blink out. Like, a bad game for Trundle looks really bad because you can't get away from that kind of stuff. So you give him a KDA pass at the very least, but maybe expecting a bit more out of him.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough. I think the Trundle was a bit of an interesting pick. You know, maybe going to be stronger in the next patch. We might see a bit of a resurgence there, but, you know, really does struggle against some of these powerful early game junglers, and I think we saw that. Santorin kind of ran this game over with the Lee Sin.
Props Santorin, well played by him. And now for more on that win, Riv is standing by for an interview.
Great cast on the day, gentlemen. Thank you. I am joined by FlyQuest top laner, Viper. And first off, I got to say a very happy birthday to this gentleman right here. An undefeated game, and FlyQuest is going home today planting 131 trees. That's some amazing stuff. I got to ask you, though, to start off, is the Riven your birthday pick? Was it a present to you? Where did this come from? Obviously, you are the Riven man.
Honestly, we haven't practiced much Riven, not in scrims, nowhere. Like, I literally barely played Riven this offseason as well. But this game, Riven actually looked like the perfect pick for us to pick. They had double AD topside, so I'm like, why not? This is like the perfect pick. So, and it was my birthday, so Riven was the perfect pick there.
Heck yeah, we were able to stump Immortals pretty hard with that pick. Looking forward, just another question. You said that there were a few things you would have done differently in that game, or the way the team would have played. Can you expand on that a bit?
Yeah, so that game was really sloppy for us. We kind of failed to snowball after winning some fights. I think we just played the split wrong. The game extended longer than it should have. and that's something we're gonna look to work on.
Absolutely. We're excited to face Soaz in the top lane today. He's been in the scene back since 2011, a very notable name in that top. Was there any kind of were you scared going against him, rather?
I was actually really excited and curious about how good he was and stuff like that. But I wasn't scared. Like, you know, I knew I had a good feeling we were gonna win today. We had really good practice, and it didn't matter how I was going up against.
All right, final question. You have TL next week with the kind of rotating junglers they're expecting right now. Is that different preparation for your team, or are you ready to head in the same way as day one here?
It's all the same way. It doesn't matter which team we're playing against. We're going with the same mindset that we're just gonna win.
Viper, happy birthday once again. Congratulations on the win for FlyQuest as they start off the spring split beautifully. We're gonna throw to the State Farm analyst desk to break down the rest of that game.
Thank you, Riv. I'll echo that happy birthday as FlyQuest picks up a victory off of the back of a huge performance from Viper and his Riven. If there's one thing you come away from the 2019 season watching FlyQuest with, it's that you probably shouldn't give Riven to Viper. And that's what happens here on day one of the 2020 split.
Sometimes you just gotta test a hypothesis, see if it still holds true.
Yeah.
You know, like we're still, you know, measuring the speed
Right,
of
just
gravity.
2 plus
we
2
get like a little more,
still equal 4.
get a little bit more accurate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so let's not test on LCS stage in the very first week. I'm gonna go ahead and say that.
Thank you.
I think Aatrox is a very obvious matchup for Riven. I think it's been like that since 2019, so I think setting up a draft like this was a little silly. And then I think we did speak briefly about FlyQuest needing an identity, and one of those few identities was Viper gets Riven.
Yeah,
It's like, oh, that's what happened.
It's weird because it's like we didn't learn as much as I wish we would have, because it's like, yeah, Viper is really great in the mid game, and when he gets ahead, he'll start solo killing people on the side lanes on Riven. That's still true, but like, what happened with that bot dive early?
Yeah.
And like,
that was good.
You know, what more can we have learned if there wasn't the Viper Riven game?
Right. I think I just come away from that game thinking I didn't see a difference between 2019 FlyQuest and this one. The 2019 FlyQuest roster also would have won this game because Viper was on Riven. So I didn't see how those 2 new pieces of Power of Evil and Ignar yet will affect FlyQuest ultimately in the way they approach the game.
I did see a level 9 Blitzcrank late in the game.
That's
That's different than what Wadid would have done.
Yeah.
I don't think Wadid would have picked the Blitzcrank.
All right, fair enough, fair enough. I respect that, though.
I love
Blitzcrank.
Blitzcrank.
I don't need XP to hit a Q.
Yeah, I wasn't making fun of it. It was just different.
Yeah, very much so. Okay, well, with today's LCS games complete, here's a reminder of who walked away from day one a winner. It's Cloud9, Dignitas, FlyQuest, and 100 Thieves. Of course, we still have 2 teams that haven't yet played.
They didn't even get one.
Yeah, winless.
I'm in this league.
All right, well, let's check in with your predictions and see how well you did. I think Prolly kicked some butt today. Damn right, 3-1 to kick off.
I got really confused because there's no 5th game. It's been years of game 5s, and since it's not there,
Yeah, blame the process.
I was thrown for a loop.
Yeah, fair enough, my friend.
Hey, look at StatsBot though, huh? How about that idiot?
Statsbot struggling. The 1-3 start, but that feels pretty natural for you, Mark.
I'm a strong finish.
Slow starter, strong finish.
You see me in my mornings?
Yeah, that's true.
You know?
Can confirm. Don't talk to Mark for the first couple hours of the day.
Yeah.
There is still 2 more days of league action, though, coming at you, with tomorrow starting off strong with Dignitas versus Evil Geniuses. Then we've got TSM, who make their spring debut up against Immortals. Golden Guardians will take on Cloud9 in Game 3. FlyQuest and CLG as our final LCS match of the day. Anything jump out to you out of those 4 LCS matches?
I think EG versus Dig is really big to me just because I've had them both kind of in that middle clumping of teams to see where they're going to...
Tough to pin down.
Yeah, there's quite a handful in there, and that's kind of the first matchup between those teams for me. So I'm really excited for EG.
Especially coming off the big win today.
Yeah.
I think that is part of why it makes it interesting, because you're going to see Evil Genius's first test up against a team that's already at least put up a win. So that should help with the barometer.
Yeah. It will say, though, for EG's sake, they do have like a trio of players who've played together before. So I know, like, yeah, Dig coming in, being able to play a game already and get some kind of synergy. I think EG already has like a good base that's probably higher than a lot of these like brand new teams.
Yeah, fair enough. What about first impressions coming off of day one? 4 games of evidence. Anything excite you about the LCS this split?
I mean, we kind of were just talking about that, but Dignitas I thought looked really good. Froggen was phenomenal, outplaying people in a lot of like side lane situations. Got out of lane, roam top to help Huni, which I think was a lot of people's big concern with that roster would be like, are these 2 guys actually going to be able to play well together? At least in game 1, it looked great.
Yeah, I With me, I'm just really hoping that the game starts speeding up. I know like North America had a really big problem speeding up games in last summer when the meta started just pushing really fast.
Yep.
So I hope NA goes back to attempting this and we don't rely on like going back to these really slow, like drawn out games, because I think that's where we're just gonna fail internationally.
Yeah.
Maybe you can get further in the standings playing these like really long games, but I think if no one learns how to play aggressively, we're gonna still have issues.
Someone who might help with that, and even in a loss today looked good, would be Closer of Golden Guardians. Had a very aggressive first day on the LCS stage, kind of putting the hurt towards Meteos, although it didn't net the victory in the end. Like to see that aggression from a young player early on.
Yeah, it's one of those things where that team has a lot of young, new, inexperienced players, so they did falter in the mid to late game, but that's where you would expect them to grow the most over the course of the season. So it was still a promising opening to the game.
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't, I think the first game of the match, or first game of the season,
There
is
you
going
go.
to be,
We found it.
It's going to be very difficult to like play aggressive like that. So the fact that he did have an advantage jungle matchup, that's for sure. I think a lot of players would play that on the safe side for the first game. So I was really glad like he's getting in there. He was chasing through mid lane to find him in his other jungle. Like, that was pretty good.
The other thing, other aggressive jungler that we haven't seen yet, Dardoch playing tomorrow.
Oh, good point.
Yeah, so that's the other really exciting thing for Sunday's games.
All right, that's a bit of a look ahead, and that's all we have, though, for today's LCS. Stay tuned, because coming up, Freak and Isaiah will be bringing you Cloud9 Academy versus Golden Guardians Academy. For those of you watching on Twitch, we'll be jumping over from the LCS channel to the Academy channel. So stick with us, and we'll see you on the other side.
Plays backwards, has nowhere to move, goes back to turret range, staying in there. The flash Q gets first blood as Ica comes down.
ITP. Can we fight?
Y'all flashing in here?
Yeah. Nice.
Careful, H-Rock still.
Yeah.
Where we win this?
Good, Atrox. IW, no.
Hook, Ignite, ultis on PoE, grabs Xmithy, and Immortals are running out of members, but Ica trades one back. No Altec in a battle with Turtle, a single E.
Atrox and Lucian.
We're killing Castro?
What an animal.